Hi, everyone. It's Raven here with Kyle. I wanted to do a follow-up because I think last week's blog was so powerful, and I received a follow-up question from somebody about it. And so I was hoping to talk with Kyle today about that and about everything that's been going on.
So great to be here with you, Raven. It's fun.
So the question was, how do you support people in their rage? So I know that there's a lot going on. People are seeing a lot in the news, and there's just the energy in the world and in society right now has definitely experiencing some sort of shift. So I was wondering if you could speak to the question that someone had, which is, how do you support people in their rage?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the same whether it's in this situation or any situation. And this is why, I train people in inquiry method, is because if I've got rage, then I want to somehow express it too. So one way, that you can meet somebody or see somebody in their rage is to get rageful too. And then it's kind of like competing to see who gets the floor on how upset and how unhappy they are, which is fine. If that floats your boat, you can have a little rage fest. And another thing is, well, I don't like this. Da, da, da. You said it wrong. No, you're saying it wrong. So that's always fun. But if somebody's really upset and you want to be at a little, experience a little higher level of consciousness, I recommend inquiry. So if somebody's upset and they say, "Oh, I'm so angry about all this," and it's like, what makes you angry about it? And then they say, "Well, it's so unfair and da da da, and look what they're doing." And what bothers you about that? Well, it's not the way the world should be. Oh, great. How would you like to see the world? How would you like to see people treat each other? How would you like to, have it operate? What kind of government would you like? And just to get really curious. And in fact, what happens is it helps people get past their rage and they start to discover either things that they don't really know, or they discover the opportunity to really express something that's available to them that goes past the rage. So either they're going to go, well, we should have a different kind of government. Oh, what kind of government would you like? Well, I'd really like a government that supports everybody. How would it work? How would we elect people? And then that's it. It gets people out of the stuckness of the rage, and they start talking about what they want, what they desire, or they might say, well, I don't know. Okay, great. What are some of the options? Or, how would you like to see it play out? Or how would you like to see people be empowered? What would we do with the economy? What would we do, with racial inequity? What would we do with these things? How would we address it? What do you see the challenges and problems? And so then you actually get to have kind of an amazing conversation. And everybody is beautiful when they, as they come up in the levels. So you're actually facilitating a context where they get rage is a level 1 experience. Basically, I'm just in my reaction to my own life, my own experience, myself, in my rage, all the unfairness that I've ever experienced. And so once I get through that, I start to get into form at level 2. It's like, well, what are the beliefs, ideas, concept? What's the form? What are the ideas that we could share? And then, then you can get into level 3. Well, if that was true, how would you express yourself? Or what would you be doing with yourself? Or, then they could start to say, well, I really want to live on an island. Great, you want to live on an island. What would that be like? Da, da, da. And then, even potentially level 4, where once they got fully expressed, they might say, well, what do you think about this? And then they're really interested in hearing my ideas or beliefs or concepts, or whatever level that I'm prepared to talk about and share. And then we kind of meet in this beautiful space. So, and it's really interesting because, even people with very different beliefs, ideas, and concepts about what should happen actually can meet in a place of agreement, when we really approach it that way. Because ultimately, we all want the same thing. Ultimately, we all want the same.
What you're talking about reminds me of something that you talked about on one of the members calls before, which is saying what bothers you about that instead of asking why. And so I was just wondering if you could speak more about why that frame of question elicits a different response than just asking, well, why? Why are you angry?
Yeah, what bothers you about that? Well, why tends to be more intellectual, and what bothers you about that tends to be more personal. So, and what bothers you about that, it's just a fun, especially if you got somebody that knows how to play the what bothers you about that game. It works with people, but sometimes they'll get frustrated if they're not, don't know how to play that game. What do you mean, what bothers me about that? But, what bothers you about it? And then somebody could say, well, I don't know what bothers me about that. I mean, most of us haven't, when we're angry like that, haven't even thought about what bothers us about it. And it's like, well, it seems really unfair. What's unfair about it? It's unfair because some people get stuff and other people don't get stuff. And what bothers you about that? Well, I want stuff, or whatever it is. It's all in inquiry, and in truth, it's all incredibly simple. It doesn't have the complexity that we ascribe to it.
Yeah, and that kind of question I feel like allows me to step out of my rage for that moment and be like, oh wait, yeah, what am I so angry about? And like bring me back to like the purpose of that feeling, or like the root of that feeling. And so another thing I wanted to ask you too is, you talk a lot about the levels. And so for someone who doesn't really know about the levels, what is a good way that they can learn more?
Yeah, I believe online, if you go to our website, that there's an area where you can buy courses, and I don't think they're very expensive, but there's like a levels course where you can learn about that. And there's a couple others. The Anatomy of Oneself is exceptional, and the Oneself Processes. Those are the three kind of fundamental touchstones to understand the context of life at altitude.
And I heard you have a new book that's out. So I wonder, do you talk about the levels in your book?
I do. That's a good point. I forgot all about that. I wonder if I have a copy right here someplace. Oh, here, I see it. Hold on. There it is. Look at that baby.
Wow.
Altitude. And look on the back, there's even a levels chart. That's amazing. So yeah, you can read this book.
And also, I heard that you're having your first book launch on Sunday, June 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern time.
I'm glad you let me know, so I'll be there.
So if people are curious about the levels that you talk about so often, and just about inquiry method and things like that, they can always come attend the virtual book launch, which is going to be live on Facebook on Sunday, June 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's another great way to learn more about inquiry method and the levels.
It's going to be a great party.
Yeah, I'm glad that you know about it now, so that you'll show up.
I look at my schedule one day ahead. Oh, what am I doing tomorrow?
Well, yeah. Well, for everybody else, I hope that you can come, because I think it'll be, like I said, a great way to learn more, and then to visit with Kyle and hear about the book and about the levels and about every other wisdom that he has to share.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.